Good evening, good evening, good evening. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Reginal Drummer, the Peopleologist, coming to you live on this Sunday, the last Sunday in June, believe it or not. And I think we are beyond the halfway point of the year. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. Uh, we have to be ready at all times, no matter what the situation is. We have to prepare ourselves, our families, and our community. I encourage everyone to join us over at Square Mile Media Atlanta. Like, subscribe, and share this with your family and friends. And also click on the notification so you'll know anytime that we have any other broadcasts coming on the channel. Tonight, we're going to be talking about a lot of things. One of the things we'll be talking about is from Juneteenth to Independence Day, even dealing with Roe versus Wade, what just happened, and what's going on in Atlanta, Georgia, with the 2026 World Soccer event. And the big thing is asking, even though they gave us a holiday, Juneteenth, what can we really get to give us some type of reparation or give us a seat at the table? There are many things that are happening, not just in Atlanta, but in so many cities. And people are finding themselves being excluded from the table, excluded from the table, excluded from the table, being removed, being ignored. In gentrification, we see that new neighborhoods are popping up. And I was just in a committee meeting a week ago in DeKalb County, and I saw the whole city had changed. What I used to know as the hood over there off of near where Hosea Williams used to live, that whole area had changed. Now here in Atlanta, things are changing. We're coming into a new year of elections, and we have to look at what can we do? What are we looking for? I'll be joined this evening about some brothers that are looking at and actually boots on the ground in their own neighborhoods, looking at things that can be done to improve or give us a better position when it comes down to the activities and efforts that are coming into our neighborhoods and communities. And if you're not being involved, if you're not looking at how any of this is going to affect you, it's a good time to look at it. So tonight, we'll be talking about not just Juneteenth and its significance, but also when it comes down to the efforts of Black and Brown people, what can we do, and what can we do to put ourselves in position so that we can be at the front of the line, a seat at the table. And in some cases, we got to knock the table over because people have really forgotten about Black and Brown people. Yeah, we got our own Juneteenth celebration, but at the same time, we didn't get George Floyd bill approved. At the same time, with Roe versus Wade, there's a possibility that they can even overturn the Voters' Rights Act. There's a possibility they can even overturn the Voters' Rights Act. So these are things that are on the table. But this evening, I'm joined by a couple of key brothers, Brother Nathaniel Dyer and Brother Ray Jones. Ray Jones, how you brothers doing this evening?
Hey, I'm doing great.
Wonderful, great to be here. Thank you, Reginald.
Yeah.
What's up, Nathaniel? How you doing, bro?
Hey, I'm doing fine. How you doing, Ray?
And I realize you brothers are always on the ground doing some things and putting efforts in to help not just yourself, but your families and your communities. But I'll give you the chance to introduce yourself to the audience and talk a little bit about who you are, what's your organization, what you represent. And then after that, we're going to get ready to chop it up, okay?
Okay.
Brother Nate, you might be able to go first, okay?
All right, then. Well, thanks, Reggie, for having me on. It's always a pleasure. My name is Nathaniel Dyer. I do a great deal of work, I say advocacy around education for children, young people, and I say mainly Black boys and girls. We can understand the scorecard isn't in their favor as it relates to the interpretation of failure and success. I have a youth organization called Kids First, where we provide a great deal of enrichment, really preparing young people for life. Uh, been doing this for a long period of time, but a great deal of the focus and the synergies are placed toward moving us as a community forward. There's a great deal of ignorance. Basically, it seems like we're going backwards as a people by perception, even though like this show showcases that that's not true. But we have to deal with the perception, and that's what I'm here to fight for: change the narrative and make sure that we are prepared for the next 25, 50 to 100 years for stability.
I like how you put that, Brother Nate, the next 25 to 50 years, because this is not a short-term thing. This is a long-term thing. And this situation is not going to just affect us, but our kids and grandkids and future generations. Brother Ray, how you doing, my brother?
Man, I'm wonderful. Great to be here. I'm Ray
Good
Jones.
to have you, brother.
Yes, it's an honor, as always. I'm with ADOS Atlanta, that stands for American Descendants of Slavery, and we're pushing for reparations and a transformative Black agenda. We're putting in work in the community, and we're basically changing how we do politics on a local level, because the way we've been doing politics as a people has not benefited us. So it's a marathon, and it's going to take a while, and this is not a sprint. So we're committed to the long-term game with this. At the end of the day, it's all about what you're doing on the ground locally, and that's absolutely what we're doing. So it's great to be here.
Thank you. I had to get my little camera set up, but when we think about some of the things, and I know from our last meeting, we had talked about some things that each of you brothers was doing. I had the opportunity of checking you out, Brother Nate, and even though I had talked to Brother Ray about, the significance of Juneteenth and reparations, and Brother Ron gonna be joining us. Ron Shakira. My brothers. Let me get us really going. Brother Ron Shakira, how you doing?
Fine. How are you? I'm glad to be able to tune in and appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this lineup.
Okay. Tell them a little bit about yourself there, Brother Ron, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'm call myself a community advocate, and I guess the two or the three streams that I try to wrap myself around is in housing, education, and transportation, a core intersection of what makes, inform, and unites community as far as its use and its necessity. And I'm very concerned about I've never used this word publicly before, but I want to say it now, the conspiracy and the criminal conspiracy against Black African American communities as regarding to education, schools, and their presence in a stable community. Schools and their presence in a stable community. And in housing, the conspiracy to remove African Americans from housing in a stable community, and in education. Well, I'll deal with education, excuse me, and to deal with transportation, to the conspiracy to break up and not allow the joint or the connectivity with the needs in that stabilize communities, and to use the resources that's supposed to be a part that tie these communities together for a stable existence. That we see those resources are constantly being squandered or broken up to break up this connection that's necessary for stable communities, and that is housing, education, and transportation. That's what I'm involved in. And when those issues are discussed, I like to find out who's at the table, who's the leaders, and which way they're going, and whether or not it benefits our community or whether or not it's part of the conspiracy to break up our communities.
Thank you there, Brother Ronald. I know you're always on the ground floor putting that work in. You know, when we look at it, we talking about Juneteenth. We got a holiday, Juneteenth. But at the same time, one of the things I know you've been working on it, Brother Ray, is reparation, compensation for Black and Brown. Well, just say Black people for the services rendered to America, And I know there's many efforts around looking at how can we be compensated. Now, there's a lot of things that have been put on the table. Recently, we just saw Roe versus Wade. We put that out there. That just shows you things can happen. But when it comes down to the efforts of Black and Brown people, the things that we want, the things that we need, the things that are in our best interest, nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to bring it up. But what are some of the things, or since our last conversation, that are moving forward in the area of reparation? I know we got Juneteenth, the holiday, and not knocking Juneteenth. I celebrate that, but at the same time, you know, we don't have a plate. We don't have nothing to eat on. That's just a holiday. That's just something that everybody can buy into, something that everybody can join in. But what are some of the efforts that you all are working on, and the progress that you've seen over at ADOS when it comes down to reparations for Black people?
Well, I'm glad you tied that together, because so Juneteenth, we already know the only reason why Biden made that a federal holiday was to pacify us and to throw us a bone instead of actually giving us something tangible. Yes, great, federal holiday, right? But guess what? We've been celebrating Juneteenth since there was a Juneteenth. It didn't stop nothing. It didn't do anything for us to make it a federal holiday. So that was a way to make it seem like they're doing something for us. But everyone else gets policy. So we're demanding policy. Now, what's interesting is what the Supreme Court is showing us is that they're trying to move to states' rights. They're basically saying, look, we're focusing on the states. We're trying to give the states power. So knowing that, we have to mobilize on the local level, because at the end of the day, if you don't have advocacy for your local area, you can't depend on the federal government to do anything for us specifically.
Right.
This shows us that when the Democratic Party, when they want to mobilize behind something, they show you what they want to do. But when it comes to us, you know, they really don't have any energy to push our agenda. Now, people talk about abortion, right? But we know that the root cause of abortions in our community is our social economic condition. So instead of putting our energy into that, those same people that are on the front lines of these protests right now, down in Washington D.C. with signs, holding up signs, why don't they have that same energy when it comes to strengthening the social economic condition of the base of the party that they claim they love? So I hope this shows us as a people that we need to advocate for us and make sure that we're getting things, tangible things for us. And let me say this right quick. When it comes to what's going on the ground, a lot of local municipalities are doing reparations packages. They're having studies, they're having hearings because it's the political hot topic to do. So all over the country, we have to be mindful of that. They're doing that in Fulton County as well, but they're keeping it very hush hush. So we need to make sure that we stay present and aware of what they're doing on a local level because they are trying to they're trying to allocate resources, but we need to make sure that the resources will be going to us specifically. If it's not, and it's an end all be all program for everybody across the board, we got to make sure that they don't call it reparations because that's not reparations. It needs to be specifically for the lineage of the people who descend from American chattel slavery.
Well, now one of the questions that we had, what can we do to help push that ball down the court?
We got to be present. We got to make sure that we're going to these hearings. We have like you say, a seat at the table, and we have to make sure that the process is transparent because they are making sure that there are going to be resources allocated. But if the resources aren't going to us and it's just going to what I call the nonprofit industrial complex, then it's we got to make sure that those resources are going to us specifically. So we got to stay in contact and be aware of the process on the ground level.
Okay, and I know we talking a little about reparation, but I'm also thinking about compensation for Black and brown people. And you know, recently Atlanta was awarded the 2026 soccer World Cup soccer event. Now, back in the day, I remember when Maynard Jackson and even under Bill Campbell a little bit, anytime Atlanta got something big, they would make sure that Black and brown people got a piece of the pie. Now, I think Maynard Jackson did better than all mayors. And I think under Bill Campbell and others, you know, but now we got a brother Dickens, that's the mayor of Atlanta. And I know, Brother Nate, I saw a thing that you did the other week, exposed, talking about those efforts because they're closing down schools, they're tearing down neighborhoods, they're pushing Black and brown people. Not only do they not want to give us any money for reparations, but they also taking what we already got. Atlanta, they pushing, and I know Ron, you're out there on the ground. They pushing Black and brown people out of these neighborhoods. Closing schools down. When you start closing schools down, you can put a check mark that neighborhood is going to be down. So, what are some of the things that you guys are looking at when it comes down to making sure that you can hold these people accountable? I know you get out there, Nate. You guys, you, Brother Ron and Ray, y'all in these people's faces. But what is some of the things that you see with all this stuff that's coming to Atlanta? It's supposed to make it good for everybody, but is there a seat at the table for Black people?
Hey, I'm gonna say it's more than a seat. There's a plate. There's a buffet. You know, it's a mindset. You know, these foods give us everything that we need. Okay, if we talk about reparations, they're sending billions of dollars to a war that we're not involved with, to the Ukrainians. Okay, however you want to feel about that, you know, we're talking about reparations, get paid back. They're giving something to these people who have never set foot, most of them, in this country. Okay, so that, you know, you can juxtapose the narratives between what they're sending over there and what we're getting. You know, you look at Forest Cove in this area, that whole big situation. And this mayor, if he wants to call himself that, Dickens, he sat on the city council while the people lived in the slum. And then you're going to become mayor and become brand new. And like, we're going to put a plan together and all of this. But just because you displace people doesn't mean that they're going to have a better life. Okay, that's first and foremost. You know, most of these people are being placed at nooning. So you're disrupting and setting people behind especially the children. Let's talk about the children and the disruption in their lives. Sending them out to no man's land, but now they're expected to perform and regroup. And let's just talk about the delicate fabric of our communities. Every Black community is vulnerable. If they weren't, why is gentrification such an issue? So we have to understand that, we can't go around asking for something, sitting at the table. Yeah, we got to create the table because, hey, we know how to make it. We need to grab what's on the buffet because we're in this country. We're supposed to be citizens and demand what we want. And I say you can't. Our history is a beautiful and powerful history of success and struggle. Okay, that combination. Of people who survived 400 plus years of slavery. And here we are now, have mastered the language, mastered pretty much, everything this country could throw at us. We're a force, but we have to understand and take a look at the landscape as to the wars, the dollars coming in, how quickly they can build a stadium or residential compared to what they did for the people of Forest Cove. They act like it was hell and high water to do anything for the people in Forest Cove. And that's just one small area. But yet in 2026, they're going to change all of Atlanta for some games. So we need to wake up. We need to wake up and understand the resources are there. And the major players, you know what? It's not these Democrats. It's not these. There are about maybe 5 families in this country, maybe 20, 25, that's really running things. And you see, if you ever remember that movie, Trading Places, if you remember the movie Trading Places with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd, and when those two gentlemen, I think they were brothers, Mortimer and Mortimer or whatever, they twisted the dollar to see how they could change the lives of those two. That's how they play games. If you have access to so much money that you don't need it anymore, you're beyond trying to make more money. So we need to understand these games, these wars. It's not about more money. It's about power and destruction of a people by choice and force.
Thank you there. Brother Ron, I know you got something to drop on that thing.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Reggie. I come on in. I'm covering up my camera right now, but you can hear my voice pretty well, I assume.
Oh, yes, sir.
Is that correct? Okay. Yeah, let me say this. Let me say, because when we're talking about being at the table and at the same time we're being displaced, and to Nate's point, some of these families and persons are moved to Newton County or beyond Clayton County, Henry County, and they come from a community that Brother Ray has spoke on, and the idea of being able to be at a table and talk about reparations when our very presence at these local political settings of council and Board of Education in Fulton County, and even to your local neighborhood groups like your MPUs, the landscape is changing. It is not changing with people who can identify and connect with the struggle that we cry out for. There are people who's coming to continue to have more power and to take into the benefit from what people may say is the good side of gentrification. But if you don't look or measure gentrification with the impact it's causing to the indigenous residents of long-term or standing or oppression, if you don't tie to examine the impact that it says to those people of color communities, then you have no concern about human dignity or humanity. So we got to measure all pieces of legislation and movement by the rule of what is the impact on African American people, and if we don't do that, we are being a part of the problem, and we have an opportunity. And I don't even know if we have the opportunity no more, fellas. The really, I can't say that. I just say that if we do not take opportunity of what we have now, we will continue to sink. And I have not heard what Nate what he stated, where we have spent what? I heard a figure of 54, then I heard a figure of $35 billion to Lecrae, to people who have not suffered or stepped 1 foot in helping or formulating the culture that we call the United States of America now. They not have been a part of that. And then the people who have been the largest part of that is being broke up. Little boys and little girls who don't have connection to community, boys who wander through the streets and don't have no place to stay. And when they're confronted by the police, the police know one particular thing, that they're telling the truth. The house in the neighborhood that they stayed in does not exist anymore. Mm-hmm. And they do relate to, well, they're gone. They've been pushed out. Yeah, mother been given a voucher or not a voucher or at a hotel, that our young boys cannot. It's not a stable environment. So yeah, these are concerns that we have to be able to address in order to move forward, and we have not, and we're not doing it enough.
Yeah, and brothers, I want to put this out. There's a question out there. What is ADOS's position on reparations for its cash, free college, and land?
It's all of the above. It's all of the above. People use the term "cut the check," but it's deeper than that. There has to be, it has to be a structure change. It has to be a systemic change. We need programs. We need all of the above. It's and it's not or. So absolutely.
And one of the things, brothers, and I know you all touched on it, and we can look at this in Atlanta. The city population of Atlanta is changing right in front of our eyes. People had got kind of motivated. They started voting. They started feeling that they had some type of representation. But now they've been shipped out into other areas, Douglasville, down in Clayton County, up in Snellville, Doraville. They've been pushed out into these other areas. And when they get into these other areas, they're going to find themselves not a part of the political process, because they would be looked at as outsiders. They would be considered replacements or invaders. I was just talking to a lady out there in Stockbridge. They put her and about 22 families out in an apartment complex in Stockbridge. And when they got out there, they don't know who to get in touch with for nothing. If they do something wrong, the police will come check. If they do something wrong, the police will come chastise. But when it comes down to some of the benefits that they need for themselves, their families, they just out there. All they know is they got a voucher for a place to stay. Now, as far as participating in the political process, we got an election coming up in November. Those folk are just running around loose. So in a way, it's almost as though it's a pre-planned situation to break up the political structure in Atlanta. Not just Atlanta, it's other cities as well. But Atlanta is a model because the infrastructure of Black and brown people that used to be in Atlanta, those neighborhoods that we were familiar with. I know, Ron, you spoke heavily about over there, that corridor around Martin Luther King. From the AU Center on back, they're pushing Black and brown people up out of there. From the AU Center on back, they're pushing Black and brown people outside of 285 and even taking them out of Adamsville. So, and I know you see it, Nate, over there in Thomasville over there, the south. east part of Atlanta. And it's going to get worse over the next 3 to 4 years. But by the time these people come, and these Ukrainians, they coming in, they're going to have their own neighborhood. They have their own neighborhood. They'll have their own money, their own subdivisions. And the people that used to live in Atlanta is going to be in the outside counties, and they're going to have to fight for a position because the people that already live there look at them as being replacements, invaders, or refugees from Atlanta. But what do you guys take on that? How do you see the displacement of Black and brown people in these outlying metropolitan? I'm not talking about the 15 areas of metropolitan Atlanta. I'm talking about outside of those 15, where they don't have no public transit, where they don't have great jobs. They're just going into some places that used to be redneck places, and now they said bring them over here. But how do you see Black and brown people in these outlying areas? And is it? I mean, what? I don't know if it's anything we can do to stop it.
Hey, well, I like to chime in on that.
Okay.
You know, a couple things I just want to clarify. You know, when the people come in, they're coming into our neighborhoods to replace us. You know, so we just need to be clear. And the pioneers who came in early, and I say the early gentrifiers, they're going to be victims as well, because the money and the energy that's coming in here is going to scoop them up too. We look at this Olympics, right? And the amount of money, I like to use the word trillions, that they're going to put in that hole called the Gulch. Okay? The Gulch is going to be ground zero for all major development in Atlanta. Okay? And if you look at the 5-mile radius around that Gulch, and I'm going to stretch it out to maybe 285. Yeah, maybe about 285 radius, but let's just say what's in close proximity. Washington Park, English Avenue, Vine City, I believe Thomasville, all those areas are going to be cleaned out aggressively. So the solution is communities that think, oh, we're going to rise with this. You better have your community benefits in place. You better have your community benefits agreements in place so that before they break ground, it is certified by city council and the mayor, which that's going to be a task in itself. And mind you, that's supposed to be Black and brown people. So, you know, we talk about displacement of Black and brown people, but we got supposed Black and brown representation doing the bidding for the master. So you look at those dynamics, we got to say, okay, how do we defeat this? And it is a community benefits agreement, which will say we put a stake in the ground. Any development that comes in that breaks ground in a certain area, which will create, traffic situations, impact a quality of life, cause taxes to go up, and then of course the noise and all these type of things. People have to be compensated. There's a tool that can be put in place where the community grows. And I give you a prime example. When the Braves took that stadium over into Cobb, you see, they had to negotiate with those people, mainly because they weren't Black. You understand? I'm sure they gave them tickets. You don't have to research, but they made it comfortable for those people and allowed them to reap the benefits of that development. But what happens in our communities? We just want them to provide some jobs, mainly job training. No jobs, construction job. How many people gonna do construction? Okay, except they may have you wave a sign, do something like that, but that means when it's over, you're gone. So we have to look at history, understand that benefits community agreement, circulating a 5-mile, I say a 10-mile radius around the Gulch, and communities need to stick together. Washington Park, English Avenue, Vine, Thomasville, what else? Sylvan, all these communities need to rally together, put something in the documentation, which, hell, I'll be happy to put that together. And we pushed it in front of the city council and the mayor, even though we know Cousins Properties, Google, MC, all those play, Warren Buffett, these are the major players. But see, the way we're going to win is they cannot afford a hiccup. This is the World Cup. Okay, they don't want no forms of discrimination, people not being treated in a type of race war talk. So they're more apt to negotiate and come to terms.
Especially since the name of our soccer team is Atlanta United.
That's a good point.
And their motto is what? United we stand.
Right.
That's not true. So we got to call a thing and be very vocal about that. I like that.
Yeah, yeah. But you know, there's a key. Like I said, we have the plate. We can make the table. We just have to grab.
Right.
let me chime in.
Brother? Hey, I've been sending it out and asking people. I said, well, now we got I remember the last time when the Olympics came, and I was working with some guys, and we came up with a couple of things that we could do. But yeah, I know people have already put some things in place, and we might not be able to save the masses, but there are certain things that we can do. I know some people doing Airbnb, some people setting up transportation, some people setting up vendors and all that type of stuff. I remember back, and probably you remember, Brother Ron, when the Olympics came, and they told us we would have all these vendor spaces. And the brothers went down there, and they ended up shifting the agreement that we had. I forgot who the mayor was back then, but the agreement that we had with the mayor then pushed. They ignored it, and they pushed the vendors in an area that was not rewarding to them for their time. So we have to look at things that we can do to not get caught up, because everybody promised you so much, but they're not able to deliver. Ron, remember when the Olympics,
yes,
the 96.
Yes. Yeah, I believe that was Campbell.
Yeah, Campbell, sure was. And
let
we
me
had
say,
an agreement with him, and he reneged on it. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, yeah, that agreement really caught a lot of the businesses and left them out of the flow. And a lot of them didn't even, after spending a lot of money on their locations and having product, they walked away from it because they didn't even have enough money to break their location down and move it. They just left it there. But let me touch on something that Nate was speaking of about that community agreement. And the theme that is really right there to Ray's point is that the name about United. And I think that we really going to have to bring all players to the table. And one people that we're leaving off the table, except identifying them as white folks or white people, or, and it's not really done with hatred or meanness, but we have to be specific that the white presence that's coming in our community, the marketing to white people in our community, the legislation that does not measure the impact of what's going on in our community, that we have to call the white leaders and the economic leaders of in the white community, and the political leaders and white political leaders, that they have to take some responsibility in the messaging that's making it okay to move African Americans out, or to take away or destabilize their communities. And we're going to have to look at them and call them out. Westmoreland, that used to be in education. We have the president and of city council, and wherever white leadership is, and we got to look and see the Chamber of Commerce, and we have to look at ARC in the governor's office, and we got to look at white power and tell white power, you understand, that they have to be a part, or of helping, that they are a part in destabilizing African American communities. And if these communities continue to break up, then it's going to be on their hands. and we got to hold them to accountability, to some form of accountability, and put them on notice that that we are one community, that we are one humanity. And if they're falling short of that humanity, then we got to remind them of the history of Black folks' relationship in America. And we hope that we have gone past that brutality and that of breaking up families when it pertains to black leadership, so Black families. So I'm saying we have to address white leaderships in the Chamber of Commerce, ARC, and in every institution that they swing power from, Georgia State, Georgia Tech, in all these institutions. That it's almost like it's a good thing that's going on in Atlanta, and it's really a very terrible thing that's going on in Atlanta and throughout this country when it comes to breaking up of Black communities.
Hey, I just want to say, hey, I always appreciate Ron's comments about trying to reach for their humanity when they're the most inhumane people, by history standards, in present day standards. So we have to understand that the way that you get to a person's humanity is hell. Sometimes you have to get rogue and inhumane in the situation and disruptive. And the way you do that is impact, in this situation, their bottom line. And that's what this agreement, just like Brother Ray said, if they're so united, well, you're a contradiction to your own slogan. Not only is your contradiction to that, you're a contradiction to the philanthropy that you're supposed to be a part of in building up communities, but yet you're pillaging, So when we put that formula together, that dynamic formula, which I call it a nuclear bomb, where, we're going to have peace in the land and we'll have some power, negotiating power to get what we want. But now we can't rely on their humanity because they show none. They give none. They have all the tools and components to be in the best interest of the communities that they come into. But what do? They go in, research, find out who's who, pit people against each other, use these token, I'll be cool, these tokens to misrepresent us and think that we're happy being displaced and moved. And that they want to clean it up, get rid of crime. But hell, the areas that they claim that are crime ridden are so small compared to all of Atlanta. They know who's doing the crime. They know who's selling the drugs and all this kind of stuff. But it's all good until the big dollar mechanism comes in and they want to clean it up and displace it. And then, of course, they start by closing our schools, Black boys and girls. And we need to be more vocal when it comes to any type of energy that's thrown towards our children to set them up for failure. So, but, we must hold them. We got to go for the juggler. We can't play around.
We got to hold them accountable. We got to turn the light. We got to turn the light on them.
I agree. And strip them naked.
Yeah. Well, now
to the naked truth. Exactly.
As far as accountability, I know we can look at whether it be developers, local politicians that getting their pockets fat. They recently had a article on 15.
Reggie,
now, when he bought them back in, I think, 2007, 2000, right before Obama. He bought them. I think the most he paid for a 256 unit apartment was like $1.5 million. All of those units, 15 of them, are being appraised at somewhere. The least one is like 7.5 million, all the way up to like $30 million. Now those folk in I think 7 of them, they got to be out of there by September. That means they got to evacuate those apartment complexes. 3 of them are right there on Martin Luther King. I think Maynard, right there on Martin Luther King, right there in that area where they put the little beautification run. That guy, he's in California. They talked about how much money he made, and he's one of those 15 properties. He has control over about, okay? Now,
Right.
they're going to tear it down, and, they're going to probably put new places in there. Rent's going to be like $2,800. None of those folk will ever be able to come back. None of those folk will ever be able to come back. None of those folk will ever be able to come back to those properties. Now, when we look at it, are our hands tied? Because when you look at developers, even small town investors, they look at, if I can make an extra $5,000, an extra $50,000, I'm gonna sell this or team up with these people. People are going around Atlanta finding dilapidated houses, knocking them down, giving people all over there in Oakland. What's that? By Oakland train station, they knocking all them houses down there. They're trying to give them less than they can possibly give them, just so they move out of Perry over there by Fort Max Fisher and all of that. That whole area is being moved. And when you look at this whole area, Atlanta, is there anything that we can do? I mean, as just normal, regular people, because I don't have the money or the means to compete with these people.
Well, like Nathaniel
said, I mean, what are some of the things that you guys suggest that we can do?
I'm sorry. Like what Nathaniel said, community benefits agreements. They can't get around that. They have to play ball with what you say. We have to craft those. We can't go to, like Ron was saying, the white money. We can't go to them and say, y'all do something. No, we need to already have the plan crafted and, let them know, no, this is what we're going to need for you to do business in our community. And we're not, no ifs, ands, or buts. We have to do that. We have to do community land trusts. We have to find those dilapidated homes and say, no, as a community, we're going to put this in a community land trust. We preserve the homes, and we can create a situation where we can move people in at a lower rate. So there are tools and mechanisms that we can use. Honestly, for the city of Atlanta, and this needs to be nationwide, but for the city of Atlanta, we need a database of as many people as possible that are willing to go out at any given time and pull up on people physically. We're going to have to start pulling up on politicians 100 deep, 20 deep, and say, look, we need a meeting right now. We might not get that meeting right then, but when they see, wait a minute, you got a group of people that are showing up and pulling up on politicians, we need to go to people's home residence and set up shop. The neighbors are going to be like, wait a minute, what's all this traffic? No, you have this person that is violating us in this way. We need to be able to pull up on people. No, all of us are not going to be able to pull up at the same time. But if our database is large enough and we put the call out and say, okay, y'all, we going to the city hall today, there will be enough of us to show up and pull up on people and say, look, this needs to change. We need to do this. So we just got to get active, man.
Let me chime in on that. Coming behind you, Ray, if you will, for just a moment, quick moment. That is real direct action that we definitely need, and it needs to be a stopgap. We're talking about any kind of agreement now. We know doggone well we have what they call a fund that make sure houses are being preserved. But how well is it functioning? We would have to agree that what we have seen in the city from our political representation as far as housing is concerned and transportation projects, it has failed, or it is lacking, is very lacking. So what we can do immediately to that database is to call for a stop action and have some points to where we going to, some how does it measure up to the points that we can come up with and say, no, you failed on this, you failed on that. No, you can't go forward. You got to stop. we had a South Side Fund initiative that has been functioning in the South Side now, I guess, for about since Andrew Young was a mayor, and or there soon after. And we have to look at the impact that they're doing. And if you look at it from Ashby Street, old Ashby Street, Jefferson, and all the way to Bowen Homes, you see they've been very successful at putting $2-3 million homes and townhouses or apartments they're going to rent for $2,800 a month. They have been successful. So we at a state now that we got to just say, hey, we got to have some stop action, pull up on these elected officials, pull up at these meetings and have a stopgap. We got to stop right now and just see what's the impact of this initiative. And your point, Ray, we have to show presence. And if we do that, I think that we can send a message and that we have to stop and we got to unite, but it can't be no fake united where black folks is pushed out and white folks is in control of every doggone thing. And it's a shame to them and to black people.
Hey, well, I'd like to add that, we have to understand that.
Well, fella,
what'd you say? Okay. I just want to say that this is
go ahead, Nate.
Yeah, I just want to say we have to understand, I know there's a lot of talk about affordable housing in our communities, and we have to understand that these are economic tools to empower our communities. These are cash cows coming to us, but most times we allow them to fall through our hands. That's the problem. They come in, and I don't like even trying to talk to these politicians or acknowledge them because they have no power. We have to deal with the donors. When we start dealing with the donors, we're going to get some movement and some traction because these are the people who put them in place. Okay. And they have just enough skin to feel like they don't want to hear anything we have to say. Okay. Right. But when the puppet master tugs their chain, we get action. So we got to understand that there's one or two factions that's moving this whole dial. They're the same players in every scenario. If you go back to East Lake Meadows, that was Tom Cousins Properties, Purpose Built, Atlanta Housing Authority, HUD, the Urban League. You can go to Bowen Homes. Before it was Bowen Homes, there was Buttermilk Bottoms. Same group of players. May not have been Cousins, but there was HUD, Urban League.
Right.
Yeah. So and Warren Buffett's head is in there, and he's connected to the White House. He was close with Obama. And of course, that Joe Biden was in the same cabinet with him. So he's in real estate. So we got to understand that these people are playing games, and they play games the same old game because we don't change up our strategy. It is a game of chess, but we got to stop playing checkers and understand we have to check that level. Bump these bottom feeders, these fake LLCs that are connected to the same players. These so-called political people. So, that's just my spin on it.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you guys a little bit to wrap it up a little bit, but however we look at it, there's gonna be thousands of people displaced in Atlanta. Okay, they're gonna be ran out of Atlanta. Either they can't afford to pay the money, and that goes back to ownership. These people that own these properties are selling properties right under people. These people that have these apartments. This is just one guy that's got property, and they could care less about the people that rent from them. They're gonna make that money. This brother is living out in San Francisco. $1 million home, a yacht, all that. All he knows is that the property that he bought in 2007 is worth 10 times more than it was in 2007. So he's got no skin in the game when it comes down to who got to leave and why they got to leave. All he knows is that he's going to sell this, he's going to make a profit. So with all these people making money, it's kind of hard for the regular person to, and I know we putting efforts. I don't want to put a lot of doom and gloom out there, but a lot of people going to be too late. Affordable housing in Atlanta is going to be around $2,000 a month. If you ain't got $2,000 a month to live inside what we call the donut, it's $285. You're gonna have to find somewhere else to live. And I know this sounds cold, but that is what it is. Atlanta is getting just like New York. You go up to Long Island, Manhattan, you will not find nobody that's below the poverty level that can survive in those areas. And people are looking at places that used to be predominantly black, Chicago, Detroit. They've been pushed these people out.
Let me say something.
And I don't think the churches, the nonprofits, and none of them can do anything.
Can I say something to your point of wrapping it up? Very quick.
Churches. Go ahead.
It's a free. Yeah, okay. I'm jumping in very quick to the point of what we can do right now, and that is, it's been stated. Go to the housing authority. That's the main player, and address that land base and that political action. And to what Ray said, we got to have pop-up presence. And I think that in the last few seconds we have, I think that's what we need to do. We need to be able to pop up, show up, and take action to the real players. What Nate is saying.
I absolutely agree. Yeah, okay. Definitely.
Brothers, Ray, and tell them how to get in touch with you as well.
Oh, my bad. Ron, you want to tell them how to get in touch with you first?
Yeah, but you, Ron, I have a show at People TV, but you can call me direct, and that's Ron Shakir, 770-896-6998.
Awesome. Nate at Kids First, NATE at KIDSFIRST.PRO. And I just want to say a long-term strategy, a year, 2 years, connected synergies. But the people who have the least have the most power. You know, who's more vulnerable? Who's trying to captivate trillions of dollars? Their investors are counting on a smooth transition. This keyword is smooth. They don't want their money. It's like the stock market. They can start getting shaky. Okay, these people, regardless of how much money they have, they don't want to be broke overnight over bad investment. Who has the power to make that investment go south? The people that they're effing with. Thank you.
I couldn't have said it better. We, the people, have to mobilize and see ourselves as a block. And we put these blocks together and build this foundation brick by brick, neighborhood by neighborhood, street by street, community by community. It's literally nothing they'll be able to do. So I'm with it. I appreciate you, brothers. Y'all can reach me at Hood Heroes TV. And yeah, let's continue this dialogue, man, and get this work done.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you, brothers. Again, this is Reginal Drummer. The people are just coming to you live from the We Are Ready. But the big thing is this: it's going to be up to you, your family, and your community if you want to keep it and maintain it. There are people coming every day. There's an investor that calls asking for property, asking for property, asking for property. So people are going to be selling property right from under you. If you are not paying attention, if you can put a family together, one of the things I think the other week we said, a couple months ago, we said families need to come together. You might have to put 4 or 5 people together to buy a house, buy 2 houses, lock down the neighborhood so that they will come to you for a proposition versus coming to somebody else. Some of these landowners that have dilapidated properties all throughout the city of Atlanta, some of these folk live in different countries. They have no idea of what the people are going through. They got no idea what people are going through. All they know is somebody made a phone call and offered them some money for the property. They're going to sell it right from under you. So right now, before 2026, We got 4 years. 4 years. Instead of looking at TV, playing around, you're going to have to put a strategy together for you and your family. And your family is going to have to team up with other groups. If you got a church, a temple, or a mosque, they got to look at neighborhood involvement. They can't just look at just taking up money on Sunday, having Bible study on Wednesday, because they're going to get displaced. They're going to get pushed out. They'll be absorbed. So we have to come together, and nobody's going to do it but you. Because if I live in East Point, I'm focused on East Point. If you live in the city of Decatur, you're focused on that area. So the people in those areas, when we look at and drive around Atlanta, all around, I can't even think of the streets now, but Lowry, there was a neighborhood look at apartments and houses. There were over 600 homes from the AU Center all the way up to what used to be Old Bank, Howland, whatever used to be Old Bankhead. But that's a lot of area. Well, they're gonna knock them houses down. All those houses are gonna turn into $300,000-$400,000 homes to be sold to people that can pay for them. So the people are gonna be pushed out, displaced, and pushed into areas where these outlining cities that we used to call white-only cities, Douglasville, Mableton, all the way down in Clayton County, past Fayetteville, Stockbridge, all these places, and then you're gonna have to start back over for political clout, for positioning. You're gonna be the minority. You will be the minority, and you will not have a voice. So with that being said, it's going to be up to you to come up with a solution over the next couple of years, because it's already here. It's already in motion. The war already started. If you didn't think it was a battle, if you thought this COVID was going to be the only thing you had to worry about, but guess what? You just got a wake-up call. Atlanta is going to move forward without you or with you, and more so without you. So if you can't think of anything to do, if you can't get along with your family members, you got to find some way to partner up, tighten it up, and put yourself in a better position for you, your family, and your community. And I want everybody to support us over here at the Atlanta Square Mile Media Atlanta. Subscribe, like, and push the little bell so you get notified anytime we got a broadcast. With that being said, this is Reginal Drummer, the peopleologist. You know what we say over here? If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. If you stay ready, you won't have to get ready. Guess what? They are ready. They are ready. Take care, stay strong, continue to pray, fast, meditate, and be ready, because it's already here. And thank you, fellas, for your contributions this evening. And guess what? We'll see you at the top or from the top. The view is very clear from up here. Make it a great day.